Okay, this is the second video about meditation experiences, and I just watched the first video. I guess it's okay. I can't touch on everything. I mean, if you go and read my book, Meditation for Beginners, and you can see a lot of what I'm talking about. But even in this video series, I'm going to cover things that are not mentioned at all in the book. So there's a lot of information to cover. If I tried to write a comprehensive book or try to do a video, that was comprehensive, it would take days and days to do something like that. And maybe that's in the future, but right now, it's gonna you're gonna get a little bit from the book, you're gonna get a little bit from the websites, Jhana8, Jhana8, the number 8.com, Abhinna or Abhinna's, Abhinna, I don't even remember my other website, Abhinna, ABHINNA.org, I think it is. There's some at Guru Gone, G-U-R-U, Guru, Gone, G-O-N-E.com. And, so it's kind of scattered about, and it would be hard to put it all in one place, but maybe that's what I'll do at some point. This video is about, this is the second video, and this one is about intense concentration as you meditate. Meditation basically is focusing on something. So you're focusing, in my case I focused on the breath, which is what I think most people do. I have a friend, he focused on the sun. He did sun gazing. And some people focus on the breath at the nostrils, where you feel the breath come in and out. Some people focus on the breath at the diaphragm, as it contracts and relaxes and enables you to breathe. Some people focus on the whole breathing experience, at the same time and feel it. I really think that it's probably better to focus on as small sensation as possible, and just because for me, I experimented with different things, and I found that when I focus on the breath at the nostrils, just the very light feeling of it entering and exiting the nostrils, it's such a small sensation that it really forces the mind to pinpoint exactly that spot. And I don't know, I found it maybe better. I don't know about easier, but I think it worked better in the end. Just my 2 cents. Anyway, so intense concentration. You're probably sitting on the floor, cross-legged or some legged, and you're focusing on the breath. Your eyes are closed. You're focusing on the nostrils, right where the air is coming in and out, and you can feel that slight sensation there. And what you should probably do is focus on the breath and just try to keep track of the breaths. One in and out is one breath, is how I did it. So what that means is you're watching the breath, you're feeling it come in, but your attention is right here. You don't follow the breath through your body. Your attention is just right there, and you're feeling every bit of that air go right through your nostril, but you're feeling only where you feel the sensation of it passing. And the sensation is, maybe a little bit of your nose hairs moving. Probably that's what most of it is your nose hairs moving, vibrating just a little bit as the air comes in, sensing that. As you do that, you'll notice that your attention goes away sometimes. Your attention, your mind gets distracted so easily. It might hear a sound. It might be a dog, might be a bird, might be Could be anything. Could be your mouth drops open like that and you hear a sound. Could be you're distracted by hot air, cold air, you know, whatever it is. Whatever happens, at some point as you're focusing there, your mind gets distracted and follows a thought. And then so your mind goes and follows that thought. It might be a train of thoughts. You know, one thought might lead to another, to another, to another, to another. It might be 5-10 minutes before you really understand, wow, my focus was just hijacked and my mind was going on its own somewhere else. And when you notice that, just come back to the breath. Just come back and focus right there again. And try to do 1 breath, 2 breaths, 3 breaths, like that. It might take quite a while to do 1 or 2 or 3 breaths. It could take a very long time. And be honest with yourself. You have to be 100% honest, because the only person that you're fooling is yourself. You know, there's nobody there. You can't brag about that you followed 4 breaths, you know, later when you meet other people that meditate. If you really didn't, you know, you got to be honest with yourself. So it's a tough game. It's maybe one of the toughest games I ever played to win. And it's because it took literally weeks and weeks, you know, to be able to get to 10 breaths in and out, just complete focus and no distractions. The mind there may have been distractions, but the mind didn't follow them, you know. The mind stayed right here, focused on the in and out breath. So that's the game of meditation. When focusing on the breath, the game is that you keep refocusing back on the breath. Keep focusing back on the breath. You might have a feeling of hunger. When you realize you just lost your concentration, you refocus back on the breath, and it's just a refocus. And at the risk of scaring you, it might happen hundreds of times in one meditation session for 20 minutes or 30 minutes. And that is the game. I mean, to think of it outside of meditating right now, you might say it's boring or it's ridiculous, you know, and it can seem that way for sure. But when you're actually doing it, it's kind of fun. I mean, to me, I saw it as a fun game, you know. I saw it as, most of the time, I saw it as, I can't believe my mind is able to distract me from my goal so many times, time after time after time. And I have ADD, ADHD as well, so maybe my mind kind of flits around more than most people. But eventually I won the game, and my mind stopped completely. More about that in later videos. But so what you're looking to do is try to reach 10 breaths of concentration in and out with your entire focus right there, and it never wavers. And as I said, it took me weeks. It may take you that long. It may take you, and most people have such trouble with this because maybe their motivations aren't right for meditating to start with. They want to have the experiences, you know, they want to have jhana levels, and they want to be enlightened, you know. Many people start to meditate just to become enlightened. And if you have that idea as a starting point, you're going to be really disappointed, and you're going to be even more frustrated than me, because that wasn't my goal to start with. It wasn't at all. Didn't even occur to me that it might even be possible for me. You know, I thought it was something you have to study your entire life for. You know, the people that I knew that were respected by others and considered, you know, accomplished or whatever in meditation had done it for 20, 30 years, you know, at a time. Now that I come to Thailand, I see monks here that are meditating 40, 50 years, and they're definitely not enlightened from what I can guess, you know. Anyway, so the game is that you're focusing, refocusing. Some people call it training the puppy. I heard people call it that. I've heard it called monkey mind, and that fits pretty well for me, because you really can't understand until you sit and do it how many times the mind can be distracted, and by what. It's phenomenal to think your mind, you can't control your mind for more than like a second sometimes. Not even a second. You might start to focus, bam, it goes off, it's off somewhere else. It's that fast, and it's that consistent, and it's that hard to tame. Once you're able to start counting breaths, and get to 2, 3, 4 breaths, and you might stay there for weeks, you might only be able to hit 4, and sometimes when you meditate, not even every time, right? So that might take weeks to get past, and then maybe you can do 5, and then maybe you can do 6. At some point, and for me it happened somewhere around 7 or 8, but if you can hit, like if I hit 8, I could probably hit 20 then, it came, my concentration if I hit 8 breaths was pretty strong, so that I could do 20 or 30 or 40 or 100 from that point. So not usually, but many times, let's say. So there reaches a point where, you get over the curve. And once you do, you're able to hold concentration real well for a long time. And I don't want to encourage you to like jump right into it, but I would say experience that for a while. If you can count to 8 breaths or 10 breaths or 30 breaths or 150, 2,000 breaths, I would say go ahead and do that, and feel that concentration. It's relaxing. It feels powerful in a way to have your entire being focused on one point of breath, in and out, in and out, in and out. And you're not bored with it. You're not you're almost entranced. I was going to say you're not entranced with it. You're not enchanted with it. You're not something. It just feels good to do it. It feels powerful in some way to have your entire mind focused on that one little point. And some strange experiences might start immediately from that point. I guess I will tell you one thing that happened. I didn't write it on my outline of the videos that I just did, but one thing that happened to me, and I guess this will start the bazaar real well. What happened was I focused on the breath real well for about, I hit about 50 breaths or so. I don't remember the number. It could have been 200 really. I'm just guessing at the number because today I'm not recalling the number of breaths all that well, in order to say it was this number or whatever. It doesn't really matter, but I had a very intense concentration. And this was the early stages, so I had just been able to reach 8-10 breaths at a time, and this was just an exceptionally strong concentration. It was rock solid, right here, and my eyes were closed, and I was sitting, and I felt my entire focus was right here. And what happened was, somehow that focus moved to my, well, I guess it didn't. It was more as if the focus was so strong here that I felt like my whole being go into a cone. It felt like my face turned into a cone of concentration, focused at the very end of the cone, the very tip, the smallest tip of the cone. And after that, it started felt like my forehead was kind of morphing, right? And then it felt like my face was going with it. And then it felt like my entire body was behind it, also turning into this giant cone of concentration, of razor sharp, just at a small tip point of concentration. And it was to say it was scary. It was, and when I tried to pull out of it, when I felt the fear and tried to pull out of it, it kept going anyway, you know, I kept concentrating, like moving, like all of my energy was moving to this point. Anyway, so it was extremely strong, it felt like the most powerful thing in the universe, you know. It was the energy that was concentrated so strongly that it felt like there was nothing else that could touch that or rival that, you know. I don't know how else to say it. So I tried to step back a little bit, and eventually I did, and realized it. Like, I opened my eyes a little bit and saw, you know, I'm still sitting here. I'm still okay. There's no problem. So then I got back into it again, because concentration came back real easily again. I was able to focus on the breath and then felt the pull again, you know. So I just let it go and I went into it like that. The feeling, and that, I think that was about my first really bizarre experience with meditation. And it came as concentration to a high level began. And not that you'll have that same experience, but you might have one similar, or in some way similar, or in some way, you know, different, but just as profound or just as strong. But apparently these things happen, and and just so you're prepared for it, you shouldn't fear. You shouldn't. You will, but there's nothing to fear, I guess I should say. There's nothing. There's nothing that's going to turn your mind to mush, you know, at that point. It's a result of concentration, very intense concentration, and the mind is capable of amazing things, as you're going to see in the next 10 videos or so. The mind just can churn things out like, I don't know. The mind is basically stopped, right? The mind is only focused on that little point. But when the mind stops, does that open you to another dimension or something? I don't understand, you know, because literally the mind is almost stopped. It's only focused right there. So it's not really doing anything. Your conscious mind, right? The mind that you know as the mind that you've always had. But all of a sudden your face is forming into a cone, and you're feeling all the energy of your body and life force like going into a cone, into a point. Is your mind doing that, or what is doing that? It's, in a way, it's scary, but you'll come out of it fine. I did. I sat there absolutely amazed. You know, for the longest time, for over an hour, I just sat there and thought about that experience. Like, I didn't have anything to go on, you know. I didn't have a teacher to talk to about it. I didn't have books to read about it. I never heard of anybody having anything exactly like that. I have heard that concentration gets very strong into a finite point. But I have yet to read anybody that said that their face morphed into a cone and their entire life force turned into that cone as well, and was like focused, like you would focus light with a I have a magnifying glass. It was kind of like that. It was like all this energy was focused through my mind, I guess, and concentrated on a very small point. That probably makes no sense to you at all. I guess I don't expect it to, but I have to share with you and tell you that something like that might happen as you get very intense concentration. Don't worry about it. It's nothing to attach to. It's nothing to grasp after. It's nothing to desire. Eventually, you must let it go as you let go of every experience that you have during meditation, every mind experience, every strange experience. You must let go in order to move forward. Some people get trapped, some people get stuck, I guess you could say, on certain experiences. Some people are referred to as jhana junkies. You know, they get trapped and they can't get out of jhana because it's just so amazing. They don't ever want to leave. They just want to do jhana every time. So this, you know, it just cautions you not to get in those states. Let things go and let go on to the next thing. my video's gonna end here in a sec. Okay, cheers.